get right to the word of the day today. Everybody in studio, whole crew, word of the day is nurse. That's for a couple of reasons. We'll get to all of them, but we'll start with the most obvious one. The Sixers hire a new coach in Nick Nurse. He is no longer, I want to make this clear because some people on social media were asking me about it. He is no longer named Nick Orderly. Nick Orderly was before when he was acting like an orderly. I'm sure now that he'll be in Philadelphia, he'll act like a nurse and try to help people rather than a bad, corrupt orderly, which he did act like with the referees in the past, okay? Those are old battles, all right? But overall, I like the hire of Nick Nurse. I believe he can be and will be a better coach than Doc Rivers was. And while Doc Rivers wasn't horrible, like some people thought, he wasn't good enough. And I believe if you go back and have Nick Nurse coaching the Sixers in Game 6, I believe they score more than 86 points in the game, and the Sixers find a way to win, while Doc Rivers did what Doc Rivers does. I think this is a good hire. I think the Sixers are going to be better. I like that he apparently wanted this job more than some other jobs that were out there, and he got buy-in from the star who's going to be here. Overall, to me, I have no complaints.
I like it a lot. And your point on Doc Rivers is stuck in his own ways, and he says, I've been here for a long time, and I've been doing it this way, so this is how I'm going to approach it. It seems Nick Nurse is more willing to, on the fly, schematically, bring different pressures and be super aggressive, and I can't wait to see what this team looks like defensively with the rim protector like Joel Embiid under what he definitely likes to do, which is, bring that swagger to the defensive side of the floor. So I'm really looking forward to it. Look, he's not afraid publicly to talk about his players. There's been a lot of different circumstances that have been brought up since it was announced that he's coming here to Philadelphia with Pascal Siakam and Gary Trent Jr. in the past. And if he doesn't like certain things about the way you're playing, he's not afraid to look at the media, look at the fan base, and let them know, like, look, we need more from this guy. And I like that approach. We've seen with Doc Rivers in the past, he babied Ben Simmons, and a lot of people did, and who knows, maybe that's because they knew that's the only way they could probably handle him specifically. But I'm excited for what he brings to the table, man. You see a guy who in multiple different postseasons had to prepare and approach the series facing Embiid. And I think that perspective is awesome. While now having him on his side, he's already been on the other side and seen the flaws and the holes, and maybe that helps him out as he puts together a game plan and moves forward.
And you brought that up, that with the Embiid situation, he wanted to be here because there's an MVP in Embiid. He's already talked to Embiid. That's what I think is special about this. When you're going through the process of becoming a head coach, you want to talk to everybody. He got to talk to some of the players. I think that's a special type of situation. When you think about something, and you could think about Doc Rivers, because we have brought it up multiple times on this show, especially in the playoffs, the inability to make changes during a game. This guy's a little different. Nick Nurse will make these changes on the fly. I think that's going to be the most important thing that we see. I think that you're going to look at this right now. This guy's not going to get judged until after the second round next year. You realize that. It doesn't matter what he does in the regular season. I think people are going to be really focused into that second round of the playoffs. He gets by that, he's going to be, in everybody's eyes, a superstar coach. I just think his ability to get the most out of his players, I think that could turn into something special. Have this team play a little bit more defense. I think that's great. I was reading up, and Harden was saying that when he played them in the playoffs, that was the toughest games that he's ever played in because of the type of coaching, and the defenses were constantly changing. He basically said they ruined the game. I think that's a good thing. When you could have a coach ruin the game for the other team, always a positive. I like the move.
And the only negative I see is what you brought up, Hunter. I think that calling people out in public stuff is really stupid and very, very dangerous. And what it does is it wins you over with the fans, but it doesn't win you over with your players. And if you lose your players in the NBA, it's over. So I hope Nick learned from what he was doing, because he didn't call anybody out when he won a title. It was when things went bad.
Yeah.
And was that him not taking accountability for his own stuff, or was he really saying what he meant and what he felt? That's my one concern, actually, is I don't want to hear Nick Nurse airing the dirty laundry publicly, because in my experience, in the recent world, that doesn't work. Players don't like that. So I'm not saying you baby them in the building. Yell at whoever you want to yell at, do whatever you want to do. But when he goes on NBC Sports Philadelphia, and he will, I hope the first thing he's not saying is, first of all, I hope he don't sound like Dr. J. Embiid's a bum. Maxey can't play defense. Tobias is Tobias. I hope he instead does that privately and has the more unifying voice publicly, because I think that's a good reason why he's no longer the Raptors coach, the public stuff.
And privately would be taking the high road here. I mean, the one thing you don't want, you don't want us to get a hold of something that you're saying and burying a player, because guess what? That just gives us the right to jump on your back and bury everybody that we can on that team. That's not what you want. I think being in the shadows is the place to do that type of stuff. Shadows, and that means taking the player into your office and saying, here's what I expect of you, here's what I'm getting out of you, whether it's garbage that you're getting out of that player or not, you let them know. I think that's just being upfront with your players. I've had a manager who wasn't afraid to bury you right out in public. And I mean, if you know my managers, I don't want to throw somebody on the bus, but you would probably know who it was.
No, he's trying to take the high. Ricky's taking the high road
right now, but I think people would know who would do it. I could tell you, as a matter of fact, walking in like the day after you gave up a home run, hey, nice pitch yesterday to so and so from the manager. Yeah. I've gotten that before, and it doesn't feel good.
Right. So that's really, that to me is on the positive end, it's almost everything. On the negative end, it's a tough city, and he'll get scrutinized harder here by far than he did in Toronto.
Can I throw one more negative your way and see your reaction?
Yeah.
How do you feel about how many minutes these starters have grabbed over the last few years? They're saying that some of these guys who have played under Nick Nurse for a while have really deteriorated as the seasons went along. And this is a thin roster.
And that's a Thibodeau. That's like Thibodeau did. That's another thing to watch. I believe that could be overruled.
By the analytical Daryl Morey, possibly?
Morey can come in and say, let me tell you something. In the regular season, B's playing 37 minutes.
I like that.
Not 42 in the regular season. In the playoffs, I'm talking about in the regular season, in November, he's not playing 40 minutes against Charlotte to make you feel better.
And I will say this much. Doc had come out and said, I don't make those rules.
Right.
So, I mean, you know it's coming from elsewhere when the playing time is on the line.
Left to his own devices, though, you're getting 42 from Embiid, 48 from Maxey, 48 from Tobias. No, he's going to
nobody left.
He's going to look at that bench. You're going to get some from Melton. No, left to his own devices. He absolutely, and I'm not talking about playoff time where everybody's like, good.
Right.
I'm talking about January.
That's not good.
Like where, hold on. Yes, losing to the Celtics in the regular season might stink, but having guys available to actually try to beat them in the playoffs more important. That is another thing to watch. Now, Jen,
yes, sir.
Again, we go to you partially for sports, but also because you have more feelings than everyone else on the show combined.
I do.
So when you
Combined.
combined, everybody's on the show combined. So with that in mind, how do you feel about a guy like Nick Nurse who's emotional? One thing I'll say is he's emotional with the refs. I think when he buries his players, I think he's just emotional in the moment.
The orderly, right?
He's no longer, when he's doing his orderly stuff, right? So, as a person who understands emotion far more than we do, what do you think about a coach who pretty much wears his heart on his sleeve all the time?
I love it. I think it's great. I'm not the player that he might be thrown under the bus, though. You know what I mean? So I don't know how exactly that would feel. I think it's great. I love the emotional stuff. I love the intensity of it. And it's obvious that he has passion for it. And he does seem to maybe not take a breath before some things come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like it. Roll with it. I think it's great. And I think this city is really going to embrace it, too.
I think you're going to get that mix. There's going to be that mix because there's Nick Sirianni, does the same kind of stuff.
But never players, though.
Never at the players.
Players.
I'm kind of excluding the players part of this. Yeah. But on the sidelines,
the
fans love it. They love when their coach is going crazy on the sidelines. That just goes to show that he cares, in a sense. But there's one thing of doing it, other times going overboard.